what you're seeing in front of you is nothing but a distraction to grab the global food supply before we go into less production from this year forward. It does seem to be control of the food supply. They're forbidding and stopping all farmers markets this year from operating in Montana. So without the farmers markets, again, you're being directed right back into the food conglomerate chain there. There's no option for you. It might be a crime to trade food in the future, where it would be an illegal activity for you to be able to trade produce because it didn't go through some check or whatnot. That's the main thing. If you can control the food, you can control the population. Who was that? Kissinger had been all over that. COVID thing is so far down on the chart that it's just like one pencil mark in comparison to, the 12 million deaths from food every year. And we stopped the entire global economy, so it's got to be something way more grandiose than just trying to protect you. Because, these large corporations and governments don't care about you. They don't want to protect you. They could care less about you. You're just a cog in the machine. That's why they give you a Social Security number because you're nothing more than a number in the board. And now suddenly they're so caring about your health that they want to lock down the entire planet's economy. Nope, it's a reset.
Meatpacking plants. This is pandemic related, and this is the food supply. Memphis meats. This is fake meat. This is what they're calling cell-based meat, where they take a stem cell from a cow and they put it in a gloppy solution and it multiplies, and eventually they have enough to form it into a hamburger shape. It's gross. It's disgusting. It's not meat, but they want to be able to call it meat without telling us that they grew it in a lab. This is part of UN Agenda 21, 2030, 2050. They want us never to eat animals. But if you were the head of a company of factory farms, like the guy from Tyson or the guy from Cargill, what would you do about this cell-based meat thing? For some reason, what they did instead was they invested in it, along with who? Bill Gates and Richard Branson and SoftBank and other people too. But there's some of your usual suspects right there. And what happens when the COVID hits? Well, all of a sudden, wouldn't you know, there's strange high number of outbreaks of positive tests for it at meatpacking plants. Really? What are the chances? Have we heard of outbreaks at the grocery stores at all? Any other companies? No, just the meat packing plants. What are the chances of this? Well, I say there's a really good chance because meat packing plants combine a lot of the globalist agendas. We don't know what's really going on, but we do know Tyson and Cargill were getting ready for a major disruption to their line of work, weren't they? They're investing in fake meat. They know what they're doing. They know that they're going to find ways to force people to eat this lab-grown spew. I'm not going to call it meat. But really what this is a threat to our society. It's a threat to all the people. And it frightens me. Probably one of the most of all the things that's happening right now is the idea of food shortages, because when you learn history, you learn that that is one of the go-to control mechanisms. They do it almost every time if they get far enough ahead in this game.
ourselves in the midst of the most aggressive and holistic onslaught of attacks against humanity and liberty that was ever conceived in the midst of a global pandemic. It's described as a farm-to-fork strategy. What this actually is a weapon, a salvo, deployed across modern agriculture and our food supply, and indeed our ability to feed our families going forward. And of course, when we talk about changing people's consumption habits to match their new nutritional requirements and saying that Europeans aren't eating the right things anyway, how are we going to enable this transition? Under 2020 Green Deal priorities, we'll have about 1 billion euros, and then we're going to spend another 10 billion euros on food and agri-food, and of course insect-based proteins and meat substitutes. So here is the funding of the reality that they want to create, the fake mood, the synthetic food, the cockroach milk and the Soylent Green. And then finally the fact that dairies, not only are they dumping their milk, but there are actually co-ops that are financially incentivizing farmers to quit dairy farming. They want you out of the game. They want to shut down producers. This is where we are now. To stop being a producer, to retire, and get rid of your cows altogether. How quickly can they gut the food supply of a nation? Well, we're watching it in real time, and the answer is pretty damn fast in this modern era. The Gates Foundation has rapidly become the most influential actor in the world of global health. We knew that. He's basically running the World Health Organization now. And in agricultural policies. Yes, he's there too. Remember, the food chain reaction game was the other simulation, like Event 201, that talked about food shortages that would result from an outbreak like this. And here we are now, seeing it materialize. Finally, they will take over all food production, as has long been their goal for hundreds of years. And that's exactly what's happening here. They're buying up all the seed production, and they're doing their genomic mapping, and they will replace real heirloom genetics with their transhumanist seeds. So this is just a continuation of the Rockefeller weaponized USDA, again, for hundreds of years. This has been it's been a part of the War Department, part of the policy that was pushing toxic agricultural practices to the rest of the world from the US. It's not just meat shortages, ladies and gentlemen. They're going, if you will, whole hog against the entirety of agriculture and our food system. All of agriculture, they really want to make the case that farms are being hit just as hard as meat packers. Experts are warning that thousands of farm workers are vulnerable to contracting the disease. I cannot believe this. I can't believe that you can go to Walmart and Home Depot and Target right now and stand in line and buy trash. But farm workers are being said, you can't harvest food. Do you see how ridiculous the situation is? Do you see how blatant the whole lie is on its face? That's why I'm emphasizing this is not just now. This is for seasons to come. And this damage has already happened. And even more interesting, there are also signs from the establishment media that are blaming, that are indicating that it will be food that is blamed, I should say, for the next part of the pandemic. At the end of the day, it's going to either be we get rid of poultry, we get rid of factory farming, or we all die from a pandemic. So they're literally saying it's the meat or we all die. It's no coincidence. At the same time, the EU is saying, yeah, we can go ahead and eat bugs. Go ahead and put that in there, just like the UN told us to. And that the FDA is saying, actually, you can change your ingredients on food now, and you don't even have to update the label. You don't even have to tell consumers what's in your food, as long as it's roughly the same. So you have that cricket protein instead of beef, it's fine. So they're advertising it quite vocally, what we're going into right now, and of course, it was all part of the plan. This is by design. All the language they're rolling out now was used also in this simulation with John Podesta behind it, and again, George Soros funding it. Like I said, it's the same forces at work behind the civil unrest and the food shortages. That's their main angle for control.
comes from the earth, nourishes our bodies, and is the currency of life. These viruses become far more fatal because of a food system that's designed for profits rather than health. Food is supposed to be health. And yet, most of the chronic diseases of our times are food-induced. The cancers, the neurological diseases, just add the list. Since neoliberalism, making money became the religion of our times. You know, it was deregulated commerce. And the people have had to deal with the multiple crises created by an absolutely anti-nature, anti-people economy. Nothing makes sense because geopolitics has become more powerful right now in dealing with this virus than science. So they're now turning the temporary measures of management of the corona epidemic into permanent measures for creating a new empire based on digitalization. The new forced digitalization to mine our data, our bodily activity, turn us into users of their gadgets. We are users, no more human beings, no more sovereign, and then evaluate us of what we are worth and allocate cryptocurrency to us. This new economy that the billionaires, the tech billionaires are trying to create is basically a surveillance corporate state, which means an end to freedom. But it also means a further distancing from the earth. And now with lockdown, half of humanity has been rendered useless. The other day, one of these people on the road said, we are being treated like abandoned dogs on a street. That is not how nations are supposed to be. And I don't think it's an accident that such large numbers of workers in India have just been trashed. They want 10% as their digital slaves, 90% throwaway people. I think the corona pandemic and lockdown has shown us that deglobalization can happen, and it has happened. And let's just make this permanent, not the surveillance part. What's basically happening is there now, Silicon Valley is a big investor in a future of fake food. Continue to grow GM soya, farming without farmers, food without farms, and basically, in effect, farms will become factories for producing raw material, carbohydrates, protein, that then are genetically engineered in labs to create the impossible burgers of the world. Well, real food is not an imperfect technology. Real food is the most perfect technology evolved by thousands of years of knowledge of what is good food to grow, what's good food to eat, in which climate. So I think all local groups must watch where that industrial system and that money-making chromatistics mindset is going to move. This system of money at any cost must force. Therefore, they write the laws to make our independence and freedom illegal. They will try to make local food and agriculture illegal. That's why we'd better be ready with our satyagraha and a fight for truth, for real food, for real life, for real health, for real freedom.